Hello again from my front porch. I'm here with Wiggles. Wiggles is here, aren't you? Say hi, Wiggles.
Hi, I'm Wiggles. Hi.
Wiggles is not actually part of this episode, but she's just here. I came out to do the video, and she jumped up on the swing. I think she's here on my lap. She's just below the camera range though, so you can't quite see her. But anyway, and she's too cute to be in this episode anyway, because I'm going to crank a little bit. I've got a bone to pick. And normally I don't do this. Normally if we dissect something, I still try to keep it positive. But I'm not even worried about keeping it positive this time. I saw stuff on social media here. Let me just preface by saying this: we just had the 20th anniversary of the events of 9/11, the attack on New York and the Pentagon, and and it's just as with anybody who is old enough to remember where you were that day, I know exactly what I was doing and where I was, and I'm not going to bore you with recounting that story. But it impacts people differently, but it does impact us. Just like talking to somebody who was alive during the Kennedy assassination, or in my case, the Challenger disaster. If you were alive when that happened, you remember exactly what you were doing then. Kennedy assassination. For those old enough to remember the attack on Pearl Harbor. That there are all these events in human history that if you were alive at the time, they impact you. They're there and they're part of our collective consciousness, and they should bring us together. But I saw truly repugnant things on social media, not LinkedIn, Twitter especially was the biggest cesspool of this. Though I did see a little bit on Facebook too, and I really wanted to comment. And sometimes I do comment on things, and I like to just needle in there a bit. But this time I didn't. This time I kept my mouth shut because I recognized just how absolutely stupid these people were, how horrible, how ugly these people were. And I know I'm sounding really harsh, but it's because what I got to see was these threads of people saying things like, "Oh God, it's 9/11. Now we got to put up with all this patriotic porn again." Literally, saw that phrase. Or what was the other one? There was another one that used the porn connection that said, "Do we have to put up with all this grief porn?" That was it. It's 9/11, and then now here comes the flood of grief porn. Oh, when? And then a lot of people asking, it's been 20 years. When can we let this go? I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but I can't even comprehend how screwed up someone has to be to actually think that, to actually be annoyed by commemorating the events of 9/11. I mean, I can understand if you don't want to watch the commemorations, if you don't like the emotions and feelings that stirs up. That I totally understand, totally get, totally understand, absolutely. But that's not what these people are saying. These people were disgusted. They were annoyed by the fact that it was being remembered at all, and especially that it was being remembered in a way that was used in a patriotic or in a national unity sort of way. Seriously, I just, like I said, I wanted to respond, I wanted to weigh in, but then I realized these are crazy people, and I don't mean that flippantly. I mean, I think there's something mentally wrong with them. Mentally, emotionally, socially, internally, psychologically, whatever, these people are screwed up. In order to be able to remember these events, and actually some of the individuals whose accounts were posting it, their profile picture, assuming it was them, I question whether they were even around when the events happened. And that has a whole nother dynamic to it. But so here are these people, they're doing this, and I was beside myself. I mean, like I said, I was so blown away by it that I didn't respond. because I was afraid of getting sucked into the cesspool that was their existence. That's how visceral my reaction to this was. Now, come back to this. Maybe they were born since then. A lot of people have been born since the Holocaust, myself included. I wasn't around when it all happened. Now, I'm a student of history. In fact, I was a teacher of history. So I don't have any questions about whether the Holocaust was real or any of that nonsense we have going on. But there are a surprisingly large number of people who doubt the veracity of those historical accounts. People who all, not surprisingly, have been born since that time. And I read an account, and trust me, I'm going somewhere with this. I read an account one time, an interview with someone who was a Holocaust denier. And one of the things that they said that really stuck out to me was that one of the reasons this individual gave for questioning the reality of the Holocaust was because they just couldn't fathom, they couldn't understand how it could even have been possible. I mean, it reads like a horror movie script, but not reality. People would not allow this to happen. That was part of the rationale of this Holocaust denier. And I kind of wonder if that same thing isn't what was on display in social media that I was seeing. If it was people who don't like the continual annual reminder of the events of that day because it cannot be dismissed so easily, like the Holocaust. We're at a point now where people could dismiss the attack on Pearl Harbor, but we have all this newsreel footage. Well, but that could have been faked. There are people who think we faked the moon landing, and so again, people for the most part who are younger than the moon landing, and so I got to thinking about this, and I got to thinking. Now I'm not giving a pass to the people that I saw on social media. I'm still just I mean the things they were saying, but these are the kind of mentalities I would think that would align with a Holocaust denier. Someone who says, "Look, I just can't. I don't want to accept the reality of the images, of the video, of the first person accounts. I don't want to be confronted with that because I don't want to accept mankind can do this, humanity could do this to itself. So I instead choose to deny. I instead choose to turn a deaf ear." It's the same thing that many of us do, and I confess myself included, when you're watching late night TV and you see the pet adoption commercials come up, all the sad dog faces and the sad kitty faces and all this stuff, and I tune it out. I either change the channel or I get up and go get a snack, or I just whatever. But I don't watch it. Now, do I not watch it because they might tempt me to adopt? No. That's not it. It's that I don't want to watch the animals suffering. So in a sense, I am an animal suffering denier. I mean, not completely, but in the sense that I don't want to watch those commercials. I am trying to push that out of my consciousness so I don't have to think about it. I don't want to dwell on it, that there are animals treated like that. I don't want that filling my eyes. Same thing may very well be true for these people who are posting about 9/11. It could be that they just don't want to be confronted with it. They don't want to be faced with it. They want to pretend that it happened, but it's ancient history and it has no bearing on us today. Well, sadly, the reality is that the motivations that caused 9/11 to happen, well, those are still very real to us today, sadly, but true. And so it's not an event that I think we should forget anytime soon, just like we still haven't forgotten about Pearl Harbor. We haven't forgot about D-Day. We haven't forgot about the Battle of Normandy. We haven't even forgot about Civil War. There's still reenactments of that happens. Now, I don't know that there are reenactments of things related to the Revolution, but I do know that there's reenactments of Paul Revere writing and things like that. But the farther back in time you go, the less passion there is to annually relive and recount the event that was so collectively traumatic for us. Certainly we don't recreate the Kennedy assassination every year. We don't recreate the Challenger explosion every year. And we don't recreate 9/11, but we do revisit it. We do talk about it, and we do keep it fresh in our collective consciousness. And that may be too much for some people. And maybe I'm a little too judgmental. Maybe I'm too harsh on them. I don't really think so. But maybe I am. But the fact still remains. The events of 9/11 were terrifying and scary. They changed us forever. And I, personally, don't ever want to forget that they happened. And I don't think it's healthy for our nation to forget that they happened. So there you go. No real point or purpose, maybe a little introspection on my part with the judging of them, but not enough for me to change my opinion. But I just needed to vent that. Just needed to get that off my chest. Social media is an interesting place. You literally can see just about anything. And sometimes that's not such a good thing. Well, anyway, Wiggles and I, we're gonna go get ourselves into some other trouble. What do you think? Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, stop. Yeah. All right, so with that, stop. With that, I'll see y'all next time from my front porch.